Hey there, it's Nick Shell. If I'm gonna be your imaginary friend, then I need to keep delivering some cool, true stories about my own personal life. That's what a good invisible friend should do, right? So let me tell you about when I went to Korea and went to the naked sauna. Oh yes, naked. This story is full of nudity. If this were a movie, it'd be rated R by default. Nothing sexual about it, but nudity, nothing but nudity. Imagine the dream that you have throughout your life where you wake up and you're naked in public, right? That's a universal dream that everyone has. But of course in this dream, everyone's naked and everyone's of the same gender, and of course you're straight. So in this, it's a weird experience. But let's get into it. So this is true, and you can Google this if you want to look up naked Korean spa, which if you do that, that might be kind of weird, right? So it's safer to hear about it from me, because then, you know, nothing weird shows up on your search engine, right? So here's what exactly happened to me. I was in college and I was actually teaching overseas at an English camp in Korea. It was for 2 weeks, and the weekend in between the 2 weeks of teaching these high school boys English, because we were staying at college dorms, but the weekend in between, I actually stayed with one of the students, and he was high school age. He was 17, 18, 16, something like that. And so my sister and I actually both were over there, and we at the same time, and we stayed at his house. And for the weekend, we'd been hearing about this all week, that we were going to go to a spa. And one of the people we were with, it was actually her father worked there at the school, and so she was Korean, but she spoke pretty good English. She hinted to us that, hey, they're planning on taking you to the spa. It's very big in the culture here. Just be prepared. You're going to be naked in front of other people, and they're going to be naked too. So we'd heard this, but at the same time, what could we do? Could we say, no, we want to do that? So sure enough, we go there to the spa. It's like on a Saturday night. And my sister and all of the Korean females go one way, and I don't see them for a long time. Then me and the guys go a different direction. And what happens first is we are given a key for a locker to put our clothes in. So all the guys, we go like downstairs, and you can imagine this. I am the only non-Korean guy there, period. Okay? So we're talking like a couple hundred Korean men, and I'm the only non-Korean man there. Only, no exceptions. There's no other races at all present there. It's just Korean men and then me. And we're all naked. So taking off our clothes, putting them in this locker, and we're given sort of like what kind of looked like medical like scrub, you know, thing. So like very drafty, obviously. So after we got naked, put our clothes in a locker, put on this medical scrub thing, I'm like, okay, finally, well, at least I only had to be naked like for a brief moment and put this on. So now we're walking into, it almost makes you think of like a swimming pool at a YMCA or something. Open this door, and at this point, all I see, naked Korean men of all ages. There were some young boys there, but especially like high school up to senior citizen. Just pure, full nudity all the way is what I see. And I think, okay, this is what I'm getting myself into. So keep it in mind that because they're all like full Korean and broken English, because that's what I'm there for, is to help them learn English. I'm the only guy that speaks English like full on. And it clearly feels like a dream. Like not a bad or a weird, not a bad or good dream, but a weird dream. Like, okay, I'm just going to go along with this. So that's exactly what I do. I thought, whatever goes on here, granted that it's not against my moral code, I'm just going to do it and not ask questions. So first thing that happens is we have like these little like stations of like, they're like shower stations, and you like sit down, and there's like this nozzle and like to rinse yourself off, and then like a sponge to wash yourself off with. So everyone like sits down and does that, and I thought, fine, you know, no one's looking at each other, at least. Again, we're all naked. Everyone in this building is naked, and they're all Korean men except for me. No females, obviously. And so I'm sitting down, and thinking I have a few minutes to like quickly clean myself, is what everyone else is doing, when suddenly I feel a tap on my shoulder, and it's one of my students, and he's smiling at me as I look over, and he's got a sponge, and then he just starts washing me. And then the other guys from the class that I was teaching from the camp, they start doing the same thing. So suddenly here I am, crowded by all of my students who are washing me everywhere with these sponges, getting me clean thoroughly. Again, nothing sexual, nothing inappropriate. They're simply, in a way, I guess, like serving their teacher. I mean, they have respect to me, and that's what they want to do. They want to get me clean. So I just let them clean me, because that's all they did was clean me with the sponges. And I rinsed myself off afterwards. So finally everybody's clean. And at this point, again, I'm following everyone else. We're all naked, nothing but Korean men, all naked. And so at this point, it was like a hot tub, except it was cold. So this was like super cold water. I'm not good with cold water to begin with, but you can imagine we're like sitting along this cold tub, and it's like, well, you want to get in the water as soon as possible because everybody's naked, and you know, but it's really cold water. So you can imagine that doesn't help anything anyway. Not that you're trying to impress anybody, but come on. So finally, I just, you know, get in the cold water, get it over with. And it's awful, but at least it's better than being naked in front of all these people. So I'm in there for a few minutes. I'm dealing with it. And then after that, we all hop out, and, you know, 10 feet away, there's another tub like this. And it has scorching hot water, which at this point, that's fine. So it was quicker to get in there at that point, and I'm just boiling. It's like hotter than a normal hot tub, it feels like. So I'm boiling in this hot tub, and I think, okay, what's next? What kind of tub's next? We've already got super cold and super hot water. And next it's like this, almost like a human car wash. Like the water was probably like up to my chest or something. It was like maybe 3.5 feet deep or something, 4 feet deep. And at this place, it's like a pressure washing station. Like there are these nozzles on the wall, and they just blast you with water. Like you get to control it, but like basically you can blast each other if you want to. Like, hey, I'll blast your back, you blast mine, with this water that, like, I guess gets the dead skin off now that you've got the detoxed out from the cold and the heat from the other water. And so what was funny though, I remember there was like these boys next to me. They were like, I'm gonna say around 11, 12 years old, and they were like wrestling each other, like picking each other up from behind and like doing all that, completely innocent to them, but of course they're naked in this water. And I just, you know, trying not to pay attention to what's going on. I think I'm just gonna go through the motions and pressure wash myself. So that's what I did. And then at that point, finally, now we have to do one more real shower, kind of like showers in high school where like everybody, it's just open showers. So we're going through this, and as we're walking there naked, but we at least have towels to dry off with as soon as we're done. Here's what happens. The other guys are looking at me at this point now, because now it's more just casual. We're not focused on working. And so like there was like this bigger, like a football player looking Korean, like bigger than me. And he looks at me and puts his hand on my shoulder. Oh, handsome, handsome. And he's looking at me up and down, saying handsome, handsome. And I know that nothing more than that is implied, because I understand this is a different culture. This isn't like in America. It's a different culture, and I accept that. I'm open-minded to new things, granted that they don't cross my moral code, right? So he's telling me I'm handsome, and then some of the other guys, I mean, some of my students are even telling me. I remember one like rubbed my arm or my leg or something and goes, oh, hairy, ah, nice, oh, tough guy, ah. And so they're complimenting me on my body hair. So, and I'm just telling a physical fact that Korean men don't have the body hair that the typical American man does, right? And they also are less likely, I guess, to lose their hair and that sort of thing. But the balance is, it's hard for them to grow facial hair. They don't have much body hair. I do. I'm an average American man, so therefore by default, I'm hairy. And this becomes captivating to them that I have all this body hair. So you can imagine that's a shower I made it as quick as I could and got on there and got my towel on finally. For the rest of the night, I'm clothed. And so the next thing, after everyone's finally clothed, then we meet back up with all the girls who we're all kind of like in robes, but we have clothes underneath, is the best way I can describe it. And so there's hundreds of people. And I remember next were these like rooms was like these like sauna rooms basically, and it's like super hot. There's like stone rooms, and you just get really hot and sweat out your impurities. And then afterwards there was like a TV there, and they were all excited because their version of Friends. Remember, this story takes place in the year 2004. The summer of 2004 is when this takes place. So but it was like their version of Friends. So they're like watching this show, and it's Korea, so there's not like really furniture, like, you know, couches and stuff. But I remember two of my students, again, age 16-ish, they're like, just like very physical, like just with the way they're like hanging out. And like, please keep in mind, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything, but they're all straight. I know this about them. Okay. But they have a different culture, right? They show their affection physically more so than we do, and they're comfortable with it, right? So, because especially at the time, during that time in their culture, as it was explained by people who could speak English pretty well, they told us that over there was just so much shame in being gay that if it was, because of that, you could be more physical, like touching each other, and it wasn't weird because there was no such thing as, oh, he's gay, that's cool. Like, you can't be gay, basically, was the concept. And so here these two guys were, and they were like spooning each other, and the one guy had his hand and it went over the other guy's region. I'll just put it that way. And I'm watching from across the room thinking, really? Is that not crossing a line? His hand is on the other guy's. And like 10 minutes passed, and like my sister and I are like watching this and thinking, how is that not weird? Well, finally the one guy that had his hand around the other guy kind of notices, oh, that's where my hand is, it's on his. And so they just both kind of laugh about it when they realize, oops, sorry. And they just kind of like laughed about it, and that was the end of it. I mean, but either way, they were spooning. Like, again, at this point, everyone's got clothes on, but still, like, that's the culture over there. So at that point, basically, it was like an all-night thing. So then, like, there was like these cots, and you could watch movies. And at that point, I'll be honest with you, at that point, I remember getting some like super intense diarrhea. And I guess that's part of what happens is when your body goes through all those physical changes, that's kind of what happens to you. That's the whole point, like get out these impurities from you. So I was in there a while, and I think I ended up falling asleep on a cot when it was all said and done. So that's the whole story of my experience going to the naked Korean spa. I'm not here to make fun of it at all, and I'm glad I got to do it. It was a unique experience, and it seems like such like a different, from a different planet. Like I went to a different planet and experienced this, or it was a dream, but that's real. So if you've ever heard about this, that's exactly what it's like. It was enjoyable actually, and I guess for me too. For the rest of my, how old was I? 23 at the time. For me, it set me up for the rest of my life to be able to, if I can get through that, what else can I get through, right? It gave me, strangely, an amount of confidence, just because, again, that's such a weird dream that people have about being naked in public, but yet I kind of lived it, and it's like, especially like I was singled out because physically I was different. And here's all I mean by that. I don't want to try to be funny here with that. I just meant because I have body hair, and they were amazed by the body hair. That was a new thing to be seen, and they were very vocal about praising me for having body hair. So, you got questions, I'll answer them. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's part of the culture that I went through. Hopefully I didn't leave out any details that raise big question marks here. But in case you're wondering, I am married and I have 2 kids, and I'm just a normal guy who just went through a cultural experience there. If you go to Korea, maybe you can enjoy it as well. So that's that's my experience with going to a naked Korean spa.